So she goes, and I just got home. I just got home for an hour. And I said, well, for the first part of this meeting, I'm going to be looking at tomatoes
Online.
on Amazon.
I'd like to call the meeting to order. This is a meeting of the Board of Education and Public for the purpose of conducting the school district's business and is not to be considered a public community meeting. There is a time for public comment during the meeting as indicated in the agenda. Please all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, Mr. Chambers.
Mr. Nichols? Here. Ms. Parkhurst?
Here.
Ms. Smoyer?
Here.
Mr. West? Here. Ms. Pritchard?
Here.
Thank you.
May I have a motion to approve the minutes from the regular meeting of June 24th, the special meeting of July 26th, and the special meeting of August 9th?
I'll make a motion to approve all of those meeting minutes.
Thank you, Mrs. Parkhurst. A second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Nichols. Any discussion or changes? Okay, none. Mr. Chambers, roll call.
Ms. Parkhurst?
Aye.
Mr. Nichols?
Aye.
Ms. Smoyer?
Aye.
Mr. West?
Yes.
Ms. Pritchard?
Aye.
Thank you.
Are there any additions, removals, modifications to the agenda? If not, I would ask for a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Thank you, Mrs. Parkhurst. Second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Nichols. Roll call?
Ms. Parkhurst?
Aye.
Mr. Nichols?
Aye.
Ms. Smoyer?
Aye.
Mr. West?
Yes.
Ms. Pritchard?
Aye.
Thank you.
Superintendent's communication, Mr. Sable.
Good evening, everyone. I'd like to start by welcoming all of our families, students, staff. Our Board of Education's actually been hard at work all summer, but I'm going to welcome you back as well for the 24-25 school year. We've got a lot of exciting things coming up this school year. Our theme and our motto for this coming year that we're going to be celebrating is grit. And grit is the courage and resolve and strength of character. And it's really something that embodies our mission going into the upcoming school year. As we talked so often last school year about the challenges and changes we faced in terms of being on the ballot, having ballot issues not pass, moving into a situation where we had to make $4 million into reductions, which have been implemented for this upcoming school year, to the redistricting process, families having to make changes that maybe some of them weren't too excited about, but are going to provide some new opportunities for growth, friendship, and learning in their new locations. So we have a lot of excitement that I'm seeing coming up into this school year. I'm looking forward to welcoming all of our staff back on Thursday for our opening convocation, and they're going to spend the final 2 days of this week preparing for our students to arrive next week. So we're looking for a very positive opening to our school year, positive approach for all of the change that we're seeing, so we can make the best, because we are Medina and we all have grit. With GRIT, it is an acronym for growth, resilience, initiative, and teamwork. And those are the exact characteristics that are going to be required of all of us as we move into the school year with all of our initiatives, especially with the upcoming levy on the ballot in November. All of those qualities are qualities of our portrait of a bee. So we are going to be asking all of our staff to engage in those qualities as we work through the upcoming school year. Number 2 on my list is Medina Recreation Center after school care. I just wanted to inform the board, if you haven't seen the announcements already put out by Amy Busby, but we are fortunate this year to add another collaboration to our list with the city and with the rec center. That collaboration is going to be for after-school care that's going to be offered on a first-come, first-serve basis to our families. I've definitely met with several families over the course of the past year or two asking us about the implementation of after or before school care programming within the district. And one of the things that I really shared with the parents that I met with is it isn't something we're opposed to. The challenge is obviously our current district financial situation in implementing extended or additional programming, but it's also maybe even more so the challenges of having personnel to run those programs. Even if we are utilizing an outside organization or company to engage in a program like that, it's still very difficult to find high-quality people that are going to be of the standard that we want to see working with our students in before and after school programs. And that's where this collaboration with the rec center comes in, because I have confidence in the kind of programming that's going to be offered through our rec center. We are cooperating with them in working with transportation and providing transportation services so that that programming is accessible to our families in the district, and they're not reliant on their own transportation or busing like typically happens with an outside daycare. So it's another collaboration I'm extremely proud of, and I hope that our families, especially those ones that I had the opportunity to sit down and have this discussion with, are able to engage in. Number 3, October joint meeting with the city. I believe I did bring up during our retreat last week that the city council has reached out to my offices hoping to re-engage in a joint meeting this school year. That is something that we did annually in the past and we stopped doing during the pandemic. I think it's a great time to re-engage with council in regards to that joint meeting, and I want the board to know that we're in the process of organizing and coordinating that meeting with the city, which would include the location where we hold it as well as the date that we hold it. My goal is to work on identifying a date where we can both conduct our board business as well as have that collaborative meeting with the city. Typically, the joint content of that meeting is about how the city and the school district work together with various initiatives, which I've shared many times before, is really something unique to our community. I've worked in other districts where the city and schools are really completely separate entities, and that's just not the case here. We're fortunate to work with a city council, a mayor, city administrators that are very supportive of our school district. And our school administration, include our Board of Education in that sees the value of the district collaborating with the community. Because it really is the strengths of our schools is a direct reflection on the strength of our community. So what better way can we make sure that we're strong than by being strong together? The last item I have is unfortunately a difficult conversation regarding reduction plan proposal. As we had mentioned at the end of last school year, with the upcoming levy, we have a 7.5 mil 10-year emergency levy that's going to be on the ballot. We're still awaiting to get an issue number for our ballot issue. We are currently in a situation financially heading into this upcoming levy where our backs are against the wall. And the reason why I say that, and I've shared this information before, Levies run in cycles, and you pass a levy in a given year, and it begins collecting the next school year or the next calendar year. If you don't pass a levy within that cycle, then you lose those collection dollars. And we are at the end of a levy cycle with the November election, which means if the levy does not pass, we are looking at losing approximately $14.4 million in collection. If that occurs, that means that we have to make that amount up through more reductions and a pretty massive amount of reductions in our budget. The real challenge that we have going to November, and to emphasize the importance of the November election, is that even if we were to fail a levy in November and pass one in the spring when we could go back on the ballot again, we would still need to make massive reductions in order to account for the loss of the $14.4 million. So looking at the upcoming levy, this is a really great opportunity for us to go to the community and ask to maintain the outstanding programs in our district that make us a top district, not only in Medina County, but really across the state. And we shared some of that data on our high school performance as well as our district performance at a previous board meeting, and I know for sure we'll be talking more about that in the coming months. Our reduction plan proposal, it will be presented to the board formally at our September regular meeting. We'll have a formal presentation for our Board of Education as well as a recommended reduction plan to present to the board for approval. That reduction plan will account for the loss of dollars and would be implemented for next school year. So it'll be a very quick turnover time for that implementation. As we've developed that plan, we continue to keep in mind the best interests of our students and staff. And the walls are slowly moving in on us, so that's becoming more and more of a challenge as we start looking at the amount of reductions that we would have to make. The plan that will be presented to the board will be specific but general. And what I mean by that is within the plan there will be specific actions that we'll be asking the board to approve for us to move forward in order to make reductions. When I say general, we won't be presenting any specific positions. We'll be talking about programs and programming in that plan, simply because we're going to need quite a bit of flexibility administratively if we have to implement those reductions to be able to do them in the best manner possible. Prior to that upcoming meeting, we will have some staff and community conversations and presentations regarding the reduction plan. However, I'm hopeful that we will find support in November, and if that's the case, we'll be coming back to the board and asking the board to reverse that reduction plan so that it would not be implemented during the 25-26 school year. Any questions from the board for me this evening? Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chambers, Treasurer's Report.
Yes, I also have 3 items here. The first are the June and July financials. In June, the district bank balance decreased to $5.2 million to $53 million. This is $5.4 million below last year at this time. The 5-year forecasted revenues were above last June by $3.7 million, whereas the expenditures were below last June by $754,000. The sales tax fund balance decreased to $4.6 million. The district spent approximately $51,000 in June, with the majority of expenditures on lighting fixture replacement. The district collected $4.3 million throughout the fiscal year and spent $3.2 million in the fiscal year. The rec center capital fund balance is down to negative $53,000, as the district received $2,204 from the city during the month of June. The Department of Education and Workforce Precaution Plan, our 12-month personnel services reduced between April and June. The district received $148,000 in investment income. The total collected for the current fiscal year, being last year, is approximately $558,000 above the grand total amount collected for the prior fiscal year. And the district has forecasted funds, true days cash, estimated to be 128 days. This is down from May by 22 days and below the last fiscal year by 29 days. Now for July. The district bank balance increased $20 million to $73 million. This is nearly $5 million below last July at this time. Most of those $20 million increase came from the tax advances from the county auditor's office. The 5-year forecast was above last June by $2 million on the revenue side, and the expenditures were above last July by $102,000. The sales tax fund balance increased to $5.3 million. This was approximately $269,000 in July, with the majority of expenditures on the Heritage renovation project. The district collected $1.24 million in the second quarter from the county. The rec center capital fund balance dropped down to $146,000 below zero. The district spent $102,000, with the majority on lighting controls. The district received $9,000 from the city for the month of July. As with the Department of Education and Workforce, the district is seeing changes in people placement as new contracts have been started. We will be seeing reductions in the teaching and administrators with the first pay of the new contract year starting August. The district has received $161,000 in investment income for July. The total collected for the current year is approximately $51,000 above total collected last time this year. And the district has forecasted funds estimated to be 203 days. This is up from June by 75 days because of the advance from the county, and below last year by 7.2 days. Questions on finance?
I have a question. Does the city owe us any more money?
The answer is no.
Okay, so they're all caught up.
They are caught up. Well, what they do owe is for the half of the lighting controls of $102,000, but
Okay.
yes, they are caught up with all their payments.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Okay, my second item is the ESC carryover fund. This is an annual appeal to the board. Basically, the ESC receives monies from the school district for education purposes, and the monies that they do not use, they hold and let us know how much they are holding. Dating back a few years, this was never done. The Ohio Revised Code basically has made it mandatory that the ESC tell districts how much is in their holding account, and the board has the option of choosing to have them reduce that holding down to $25,000. And that has been my recommendation every year since we started here. And so we're looking at receiving a refund of roughly $74,285 from the ESC for last year's fund. And then finally, on a yearly basis, since we started with commercial paper and using commercial paper as an investment product, we have to report on what commercial paper we have purchased, sold, and how much the commercial paper has given to the district. Last year, between July and June of '24, the district purchased roughly, I want to say 15 items and sold 10 items. The 10 items sold were for a total of $4.28 million. And those 10 items brought in $143,000 for the district. taking those 4.08 million in investments, that is roughly 10.4% of our total investments at the end of the fiscal year, and taking into account the amount of investment income it brought in, it's roughly anywhere within a 9-month range. It's anywhere between 11.2 and 12.3%. So.
Mr. Chambers, remind me what's the limit for the maximum percentage of our investments can be commercial paper?
Commercial paper can be, I believe it's up to 40% of our investments.
And we can't hold on to anything for more than 250?
270 days.
270 days. Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Any other questions for Mr. Chambers? Okay. Board Communications, Mrs. Smoyer.
Not a lot going on over the summer, but I did not make it to the finance meeting, so Mr. West can say it for me what happened for there. Otherwise, I do want to say that the band has been really working hard since past 2 weeks for sure, and actually yesterday was their last what they call 2-a-days, and they had a drill down, which was really kind of cool. I just can't explain truly what it is in the sense, but she tells them exactly what to do, and these kids have to memorize it in their head and do it without anything. She's just clapping along to the beat, and it's fun to watch. I'm trying to think of Gavin is the first name of the kid that won it last night, and it was just a lot of fun to watch, and the camaraderie with all the band kids is just awesome. And I love it that freshman band kids come in, they have 200 and some new friends that they can go into the high school with and know somebody in every class, which is so nice. But I know that the football team has been going, and all the other teams have really, cross country, have been going as well, because I keep seeing them around running. But otherwise, great summer.
Thank you, Mr. Nichols.
Yeah, so I ended up missing the curriculum meeting that we actually had at the beginning of this week, so Becky, you're on. When it's your turn, hang on, I'm not passing my time. Some other things that I was able to attend throughout the little hiatus that we had with meetings. The facilities committee met, and there's always stuff going on. Ryan's never bored, I feel like. Couple things that we went over was looking at the condition of the track that we have right around Ken Dukes, and some of the concerns and situations that are starting to show on the track there. We luckily caught a sinkhole before the garbage truck got stuck in it, and then we had a bigger money pit to deal with then. And they got that taken care of. It was pretty cool. He was showing pictures, and you could see, how big it was. I think there's one where they have like the mini excavator over top, and there's a shovel in the hole, and just the comparison for scale was kind of cool to see, but also spooky because it's clearly a huge hole there. And then ended up seeing some of the work that had been done at Heritage to get everything ready to go for preschool. All the walls, we got a rundown that they have to put a spacer in between a 30-foot wall. That's the thing that I really remember. Yeah, no, I remember more. I'm just kidding. But yeah, they're really nice walls. They're great walls. And then I also had a meeting with the Medina City Schools Foundation, and they're talking about revving up for their fundraising season, which really kind of ends up falling in the second half of the school year. So I'll have a few more details as that comes along. One of the new things that they're looking to do is actually a dueling pianos fundraiser that, could be pretty cool. So, yeah, I'll have more information as we get closer to those dates. Oh, okay. I want to clarify, the sinkhole was not in the track, all right? It was separate. It was at Canavan, yeah, in front of a garbage bin that was requested. It was not in the middle of the track. Yeah, no problem. Yeah, and I think that's really been a lot of my excitement over the little bit of time we've been away.
Thank you, Mr. Nichols. Mrs. Parkhurst, you've got a lot of work to do since everybody missed meeting, so.
I'll do my best. Thank you. Want to welcome everybody back. It's hard to believe that we're starting here in a couple days. Our policy committee meeting, we did not hold that this month. We are scheduled to meet in September. I helped out at the farmers market along with Mrs. Smoyer. I think it was the last weekend in July or last Saturday in July, perhaps, welcoming families back to school, providing back to school lists, meet the teacher nights, and it was just fun to be on the square and meet people. And the kids are really excited about, even then, they were really excited about getting back to school. So that was fun. The curriculum committee met just Monday, just yesterday. Yes, right? Yes, yesterday. Oh, my goodness. So we met yesterday, and we watched a video, True Grit and What Drives It, and I believe it's the same video Mr. Sable shared at our retreat. I recommend, if you haven't viewed that, to view that. That's by John Gordon is the speaker. He's the author of The Energy Bus, and it is a great motivational, inspirational video, and he has a great sense of humor and is very engaging. So I recommend everybody check that out if they haven't already. We talked about grit, similar to what Mr. Sable shared with us today, as well as Mrs. Cassie shared our district academic goals, which is really increasing our deeper learning throughout the district opportunities, as well as continuing with the capstone courses and trying to grow those at all levels in the district. Currently, those are at 5th grade, 8th grade, and 12th grade. There will be some curriculum adoptions this year for middle school math. The committee is still working on those. So those have not been shared with the curriculum committee, or the parent curriculum committee yet. The district curriculum committee is still working on vetting those options, as well as there will be a preschool ELA curriculum update, and we're waiting to hear from the states what the approved curriculum options are for us before we can select those. And our teachers have been busy at the end of the school year and over the summer getting ready to implement a full implementation of the CKLA curriculum, and so that'll be ready to go this fall, which is super exciting for our kiddos. The last thing that I wanted to mention is Mrs. Cassie shared with the board a couple of weeks ago the AP test results. And I just think that's just a great thing for our district. I believe, and correct me here if I'm wrong at all, but I believe we had 700 tests taken the prior school year. This school year, we had 870 tests taken, so an increase of 170. And the prior year, we had 70-some students who received a 3 or higher, but this year it was 83% of all the students who took the AP test scored the 3 or higher, which gives them college credit. So I just think that's great. We're expanding those opportunities to our students, that they're being successful with those, and that is a credit to our high school principal, Dr. Tadona, and our counselors and the teachers and staff up at the high school. So that's just fantastic. So thank you for everyone's efforts with that.
Thank you, Ms. Parkhurst. Mr. West.
We got a few things. I'll start with, I don't normally go to the finance committee meetings, but Ms. Moyer couldn't, and so I went in her stead. Mr. Chambers went over everything like he always does and does a great job at that. He did give us a chart which I thought was really interesting, and perhaps here you can, at a future meeting, you can share a little bit more, but about looking at the amount property values have increased versus how much, property taxes have actually increased. It was very shocking. Property values have gone up roughly 60%, but the amount that the property taxes have gone up is like less than 10% or some value like that. I don't have that exact number, but it was pretty shocking. Had the facility meeting. There was Joe went over a lot of stuff. Heritage was supposed to get your occupancy permit today. Was that correct?
We had our district walkthrough. We've passed all of our permits, except we have not had a fire inspection yet. So we're moving. We have a tentative occupancy permit, and we're moving teachers in classrooms tomorrow.
Yeah, I thought that's what you had mentioned or something like that. Did a lot of paving over the summer. A lot of it was just patching. Northrop got some patching, but it's not stuff that we typically like to do, but we just had to patch. So next year Northrop will get a full paving job in the parking lot. Claggett, Heritage, we did concrete sidewalks around Fenn because we're going to have more students there. So there's a sidewalk all the way to the parking lot so people can walk on a sidewalk instead of across the grass. Lots of other various things, some carpet in a couple classrooms in Canavan that was replaced with new. The district is using 2-foot squares that almost like contact cement. So when you get one that's ripped or it's in bad shape, you can pull the one square up and put a new one down and don't have to do everything. Joe mentioned the high school track. That's something that's the district's going to have to address at some point in the future. What else? They removed a gas house at Canavan that was around the Columbia gas that was falling in. That's been removed. The sinkhole was in front of the dumpster, and it was discovered by accident, and it was the downspout drain had broken and was washing away the gravel underneath, and there was a hole that you could literally climb in. And it's lucky because if a dump truck or a garbage truck had driven on it, it would have went into it. So that was caught. I think they checked by dropping a flagpole in it, and the flagpole disappeared, and they're like, oh, that's not good. Something along that lines. Some other just little tidbits. I went over to the cross-country time trial last week just to stop by. It was quite a bit of the party atmosphere in the parking lot. There was some parents were tailgating, and they were playing cornhole and grilling burgers, waiting for their kids to run, and then all the parents were around the track watching the kids run. And there was a lot of kids there, a lot of alumni there too show up. So that was Miss Parkhurst would know exactly what I'm talking about. So it was kind of fun to see. We had this past Saturday, my Boy Scout troop, 5137, we had an Eagle Court of Honor here at the high school, rented the facility, and we were in the middle auditorium, and we had 5 graduates. They just graduated from Medina, and we did their Eagle Court of Honor here. But we had a lot of our alumni here too, a total of 13, and so all of them are graduates of this high school. And that's not even all of the ones that we had. Those are just the ones that showed up. But just to give you an idea, and the Girl Scout program is similar, I'd say each one of those young men's project that they did, and there was 2 of them that did projects for the high school. One was the shot put return out on Ken Dukes. That was done by Dylan Forrester, and Robbie Wolna did a library house over at Blake, I think. And but each one of those projects takes about 150 man hours. So if you multiply it by 13, you're talking 1,800 man hours. So when you think about the amount of money that is per man hour, that's an awful lot of strictly volunteer time. So that was it was pretty impressive to be there, even though I've been to a lot of them. It was nice to see like 13 Eagle Scouts standing up on the stage, all in their uniforms too. And then finally, this Thursday, I'll be at Ella Canavan for Meet the Teacher Night. I think all the board members are going somewhere. But I'll be at Ella Canavan, which I'm looking forward to that. So that's all I've got.
Thank you, Mr. West. Yeah, there will be one board member at every school. I have Blake, Mrs. Parkhurst has Waite, Mrs. Smoyer has Northrop, and Mr. Nichols has Fenn. So we'll be around if anyone has any questions. There were 2 students from the Career Center, Lauren Cadlick and Mackenzie Lapps, in the teaching professions, won a White Ribbon Award for their teacher-created materials at the National Conference in D.C. They will be seniors, so they have another chance for more awards. I just want to remind anyone between the ages of 18 and 23, if you don't know what you want to do with your life, you get free tuition at Adult Ed. And they have a whole lot of programs out at the Career Center, so you might want to look them up. Ella Nicholson, who is our champion weightlifter, she has been winning events all summer, and she has her sights set on the 2028 Olympics, which will be in Los Angeles. I want to put this plug in. The girls' golf team needs golfers, so if there's any young lady out there in high school who's interested, get a hold of the coach or go to Mr. Hotkey in the athletic office. Boys' golf won the county tournament at Bunker Hill. On a somewhat of a sad note, on August 1st, we lost a former science teacher, Rosemary Balsinger. She taught here at the high school. She taught for 24 years, and I'd like to extend our sympathy to her family. And I just want to remind everyone, the kids are starting back to school on Monday. Slow down, okay? The speed limit by some of the schools is not 120 miles an hour. It's much slower, so please be careful, and let's make sure that nobody gets hit. So thank you very much. We will go into the action.
Ms. Pritchard?
I knew you were going to do that.
I know. I'm sorry. I thought 2 things. I'm sorry. Absentee voting. So I wanted to remind everybody, if your kiddo's turning 18, election season's coming up, and get them registered to vote, as well as they head off to college, they can get their absentee ballot application completed so that they can vote while they're at school. The second thing, you mentioned when there's a shortage of golfers, and I know that you enjoy golfing, and I'm wondering if maybe you could start like a girls' golf club. Like we had Girls on the Run. Maybe you could start a girls' golf club for our younger women, ladies, to get interested in the sport. Share your talents with them.
Yeah, I talked to the coach. She's going to start doing that at the middle school. So, but I told her if she needed help, I would help her out. So, yeah, thanks for volunteering me.
Anytime.
I really appreciate it because I have so much time now. Action items for the treasurer, Mr. Chambers. There's nobody here except Reverend Wilson. I'm sorry, is there any public comment? Yeah, see? Okay, Mr. Chambers.
Yes, if it please the board. Item number 1, it's recommended that the Board of Education approve the June 24 and July 24 treasurer's financial reports. Item number 2, it is recommended that the Board of Education elect to receive the automatic refund amount for fiscal year 23-24 and maintain a carryover balance with the Educational Service Center of Medina County.
Someone like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve action item treasurer G 1 through 2.
Thank you, Mr. Nichols. Second.
I will second.
Thank you, Mrs. Moyer. Is there any discussion? Okay, roll call.
Mr. Nichols?
Aye.
Ms. Moyer?
Aye.
Ms. Parkhurst?
Aye.
Mr. West?
Yes.
Ms. Pritchard?
Aye.
Thank you.
Action items for the superintendent, Mr. Sable.
Two quick comments. I am curious if former board member Tom Callahan would come back and dual pianos. he's a dueling pianist. And Reverend Wilson, you are an important member of our community, and thank you for being here and being an advocate for our community and our schools. Donations, number one, it is recommended that the Board of Education accept the following donations. A few of these I do want to point out. The $200 donation for decorative grasses at our board office. That occurred because Stanley Black & Decker actually came in and filmed some commercials over on our facilities, and the donation was part of the result of that. Also, a fairly large donation of $10,000 from our Medina High School to our Medina High School Vocal Activity Fund from Harmony Helpers, which is a booster organization of ours. I do often get questions from parents and community members of how our booster organizations support us. I've been getting those questions in a much larger volume since we've had the levies on the ballot and reductions. And you can see this $10,000 donation is directly to the schools and the organization. And we appreciate that donation as it not only helps those students, but helps the district too and offset funds. Also, the Fraternal Order of Eagles, again, nice to see a community organization coming out and reaching out to our students to provide $2,500 to help students that need some extra support with their academics. Number two is a transportation resolution. It is recommended that the Board of Education approve the transportation resolution, which deems students from non-public schools and students living outside the non-public school attendance area as ineligible for transportation for the 24-25 school year. Number three is service agreements. And you can see we have quite a few service agreements on this agenda as we're preparing for the school year. It is recommended that the Boards of Education approve the following service agreements per the listed contracts. The first one I want to mention is the Cleveland Clinic Foundation, because this is a unique partnership that we have with the Cleveland Clinic. I know it shows an amount of $102,000. However, we don't actually pay that amount. We have an exchange of services with the Cleveland Foundation for them to provide us with our athletic trainer services. And the exchange that we provide back to the Cleveland Clinic is marketing and advertising opportunities in the district. So when you see the Cleveland Clinic outside our stadium on a sign, it's a result of this partnership that we've developed with them and really saves the district quite a bit of money. The next one that I would like to point out is right below that, and that's our school bus GPS service and software, allowing us to monitor our buses live while they're active out on routes, which is obviously an important safety and security measure. And I just want to quickly check with Mr. O'Call. Does this also include the parents' ability to be able to track their students through the app?
Yes. Yep, that's the one.
Thank you. We have several other contracts that are being recommended tonight as well for Medina Christian Academy and also St. Francis. I just want to remind the board that these are pass-through funds, so these are not costs to Medina City Schools. However, we are the fiscal agent for these private schools, and thus our Board of Education needs to approve these contracts. Number 4 is an additional service agreement. It is recommended that the Board of Education approve the amendment to the Total Education Solutions Therapy Service Agreement, and this is to provide placement of an additional special education student to this program for the 24-25 school year. Number 5 is a stipend payment. It is recommended that the Board of Education approve the stipend payment to district teachers who have served as cooperating teachers for students attending universities during the spring of 24 semester. I thank our veteran teachers for stepping up and being willing to serve in a capacity of mentors to student teachers. This really is not a very large stipend for the amount of work that they dedicate into helping teach and mentor our future educators. I encourage our teachers and our building principals to take advantage of any of these opportunities that can come across. We have been in an educator shortage. That is only going to become more of a challenge. So the more we can invite young teachers into our school district and use it as a means of education and development, the more that can benefit us as a district, as those young teachers see what a great place we have here. Number 6 is personnel. It is recommended that the Board of Education approve the following personnel recommendations pending completion of all required paperwork to our Human Resources office. 2 that I do want to point out here right at the top are all board-approved certified staff are eligible to provide home instruction tutoring to Medina City School District students at the rate of $30 per hour. And that's any time that we have a student that has to go on a prolonged leave. Typically, it's due to medical reasons that we're able to offer those students tutoring by our own staff. All approved current certificated substitutes are eligible to work with students for home instruction tutor positions as approved. This offers the same opportunity for our substitutes as it does for our full-time teachers. Again, with the educator shortage, we want to make sure we have as many resources available for students that are in need of those. I'd also like to congratulate beforehand, pending our Board of Education's approval, but Paul Jejic is being recommended as our new associate principal at Medina High School. As I've mentioned several times, it can be a challenge finding upstanding and quality educators, and we've been very fortunate to land Paul, who's coming to us from the Akron Public Schools. He has a vast amount of experience as a classroom teacher and has had the opportunity to also intern and work in some administrative capacities at Firestone High School. So he comes with a wealth of knowledge and background. I also would like to wish Gretchen Newton the best as she's asking the board for a family medical leave of absence as her and her husband are expecting their second child. During her absence, Karen McGinty is going to be serving as a substitute principal over at Canavan to fill her shoes. And I know that Karen is going to do quite well because she was once the principal over at Canavan. So she's going back home. During that time, we are very short on administrators, especially at our elementary levels at this time due to reductions. I would also like to welcome back Bob Whitaker to the school district. He's going to be filling Karen's capacity as well as providing support across the district since she's going to be substituting at the building. Karen's role this upcoming year, since we no longer have the associate principals that we did a year ago due to reductions is going to be providing support to those buildings throughout the year where we have shortages. In addition, on this agenda are many appointments for supplemental contracts for the upcoming school year. The way supplemental contracts work, and many of those people have already been hard at work because the job of an athletic coach really is year-round. And many of them are dedicated to their athletic programs and are hard at work before they're even officially hired by our Board of Education. We're very fortunate that we have that kind of dedication from our coaches to continue to work with our students. Thank you.
I'll make a motion to approve the superintendent action items.
Thank you, Mrs. Parkhurst. Second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mrs. Smoyer. Is there any discussion? I have a question. Why is the Ohio High School Athletic Association giving us $2,000? What's the catch? Because there's always something with them.
You know, I'm not sure, and I'll have to follow up with Mr. Hodke to
Okay.
get you that information.
Okay, and my one other question is, at the high school, maybe this is just a typo, Carrie Schreck, it has guidance -2. Does anybody know what that means? She got 2 contracts, or is that just a mistake? She get what? Oh.
There's some language in the teacher's contract that dates back to the 80s, and she has been in a counselor position. She's the only one that qualifies for,
Okay.
there's some language in there she's grandfathered in
Okay.
for as long
all
as she still serves as counselor.
right. Okay, thank you. Okay, any other questions?
I have a couple of questions. Regarding the bus lease, will that amount fluctuate if we add buses or take buses away?
We will not, we're going to continue a lease every year, and we'll do 5 buses every year. If we reduce busing or don't need as many buses, we will stop the next year of renewing that lease cycle. But we're getting the buses in a rotation that will replace 5 buses every year, and in 12 years, they keep cycling out.
I'm sorry, I misspoke. I meant the school bus GPS services and software lease that's on the agenda for tonight.
I'm sorry, what was the question about that?
It's also a 5-year lease, I believe, and it looks like it's based on the number of buses that we have, the one with Synovia. I was just curious if that also, if we add more buses, I'm assuming we have to pay more, but if we take some buses away, will they adjust it down, or?
I will, I'll follow up with Brenda and check on that.
Okay,
I'll have
thank
an
you.
answer for you. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you. Sorry about that. Also, Mr. Sable, I wonder if you could speak to the service agreement with the Cleveland Clinic about athletic training. I think there's only certain events that we have athletic trainers for.
Yes, we have certain events and programs that we're required to provide athletic trainers actively at the events. The vast majority of those events are high school varsity programs. So even though the athletic trainers or services aren't directly at some of our other events, whether it's a freshman competition or a middle school competition, our trainers are still available to all of our athletes. So they have access to them. They're housed here at the high school and make themselves available to those programs directly when it's needed or when it's necessary. That type of structure is what you'll see at pretty much every other high school in Ohio, everyone I've ever worked at, in terms of way the services are distributed. I know in an ideal world, we'd have direct services for all of our programs. However, with the financial cost to be able to do that, unfortunately, that's just not able to be a reality. where we're very fortunate here in Medina City Schools is the outstanding access that we have across our community to these services, that we are in very close proximity to all of our safety services, so that if an emergency issue arises, and I've seen it, the response is extremely fast. Not only by our police department, but also by our fire department, and of course having the hospitals that we do just right down the road from our buildings is a blessing as well.
Thank you for clarifying that. I also just wanted to point out and thank our retired teachers that have decided to come back as substitutes. They know more than anybody that we are short on subs, and I know I at least saw Phil Brewer's name and Debbie Hicks, so we appreciate them coming back, and anybody else that I missed coming back and being a sub. Thank you.
Any other questions? I just am surprised that our softball coach of 1 year has resigned. Does she get another job?
Yeah, I'm not sure what the background is.
Here we go. Sorry, Mr. Shields.
She's been hired as an administrator for Buckeye Local Schools. So I think she just was concerned with the commitment to being an administrator and trying to coach too. She really regretted it. She really enjoyed this year and said it was a great experience for her. But it's also a great opportunity for her career-wise.
Thank you. Okay, no other discussion. Roll call.
Ms. Parkhurst,
Aye.
Ms. Moyer,
Aye.
Mr. Nichols,
Aye.
Mr. West,
Yes.
Ms. Pritchard.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, I would need a motion to go into executive session to consider the employment, discipline of a public employee or official, and specialized details of security arrangements and emergency response protocols where disclosure might reveal information that could jeopardize the district's security.
I'll make a motion to go into executive session for the reasons stated.
Thank you, Mr. West. Second?
I will second.
Thank you, Mrs. Smoyer. Any discussion? Okay, roll call.
Mr. West,
Yes.
Ms. Moyer,
Aye.
Mr. Nichols,
Aye.
Ms. Parkhurst,
Aye.
Ms. Pritchard.
Aye.
Thank you.
There will be no action taken when we come out of executive session. I'd like to thank everyone for coming. And I think our next meeting will be at Garfield. Is that right?
That's the plan. That's the schedule. So the Garfield cafeteria with minimal changes other than cleaning up the cafeteria and painting will be utilized as our board conference room.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you all.